You think betrayal comes from enemies, strangers, outsiders. But the cruelest betrayal doesn't knock on your door. It grows up under your roof. You work your whole damn life. Long hours, broken back, sacrifices nobody saw. You give your kids food, safety, love. You think loyalty is written into blood. Then one day your phone stops ringing. Your son's too busy to visit. Your daughter's setting boundaries. Suddenly, the kids whose diapers you changed, whose tears you wiped, whose dreams you bankrolled, treat you like a heavy luggage they can't wait to drop at the curb. And here's the knife in the ribs. Parents don't die from sickness first. They die from betrayal, the betrayal of the ones they love. Schopenhauer blames you for this. Why did you have kids in the first place? Why did you even develop relations? Almost all of our sorrows spring from our relations with others. He is right. And no sorrow cuts deeper than when your own blood abandons you. The will, that blind hunger Schopenhauer saw at the heart of all life. It doesn't give a damn about gratitude. It only cares about survival. And when survival demands it, your children will trample you without hesitation. Men are told from the cradle, family is everything. Blood is thicker than water, brother. Let me break the illusion for you. Blood is no guarantee of loyalty, Schopenhauer says. Family ties are no sacred bonds. They're contracts, temporary contracts drafted by nature. And marriage? It's a trick to get two people to reproduce. Parenthood? Another trick to keep the child alive until it can walk alone. After that, the contract expires. Think about it. How many fathers dream of growing old surrounded by their children, only to end up in nursing homes or shoved into a corner of their own homes like an old chair, sat on when useful, ignored when not, dusted off once a year out of guilt? How many men realize too late that the blood bond was a myth, an illusion painted over cold biology? Remember that your children's loyalty is never eternal. It's rented, and the lease runs out the moment they no longer need you. Why do kids betray the very hands that raised them? Why does the son stop calling, the daughter start pulling away? It's not because of hatred, it's the will. That blind, relentless drive Schopenhauer called the engine of life. When your child is small, the will wants food, toys, comfort, and you provide it. You're the hero, the center of their universe. But as they grow, the hunger shifts. Independence, love, wealth, validation. And you don't provide this. Suddenly, you're no longer the hero, but the obstacle. The son looks at his father as a shadow blocking his freedom. The daughter looks at her parents as walls keeping her from the validation she craves. They don't sit down and plot it out. It's not some conscious betrayal. It's just the will, that endless hunger, driving them forward, even if it means stepping on the very people who built their foundation. And here's the gut punch for fathers. Our sacrifices are silent. We break our backs at work. We give up sleep, hobbies, health, all to raise strong children. We don't expect medals, but we expect memory. We expect some loyalty. Instead, we get silence. A son chasing wealth, a daughter chasing validation. And we, the men who gave everything, sit alone in the quiet, learning the cruelest truth. Sacrifice doesn't guarantee devotion. Why does your grown child avoid you? Why do they call less, visit less, keep their distance when you need them most? It's because you failed? No, it's because you remind them of something they can't bear to face: death. Every wrinkle on your face, every pill bottle on the counter, every slow step you take, it screams one brutal truth: this is their future. When your son looks at you struggling to open a jar, he doesn't just see his dad. He sees himself in 30 years, weaker, slower, forgotten. When your daughter notices you're shaking hands, she's not thinking about you. She's picturing her own decline. Schopenhauer called life a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. Old age is where both hit hardest. Your children see it and they recoil, not from you, but from the reflection. Nietzsche was even harsher. To him, life was about strength, overcoming weakness. And what are old parents, if not weakness incarnate? You used to be the fortress. Now you're the reminder that the fortress crumbles. So they retreat. They hide behind excuses. I'm busy. Work is crazy right now. We'll come next weekend. Lies. What they're really saying is, you scare me. You remind me of my own end. That's the cruel paradox of fatherhood. The stronger you once were, the harder it hits them to see you fragile. And instead of honoring you, they avoid you. Because in their mind, sitting with you is like sitting with their own mortality. Of all betrayals, the one that slices deepest often comes from daughters. You raised her tenderly, protected her from predators, worked overtime so she could go to a better school, wear better clothes, live a safer life. You were more than a father. You were her shield. And yet, when adulthood comes, she's often the first to pull away. Why? Because her will, that blind hunger Schopenhauer described, is wired differently. For women, it manifests most viciously in the hunt for validation. From 15 to 35, she's bathed in it. Compliments, stares, male attention at every corner. Her worth is confirmed daily. But when that spotlight fades, panic sets in, and aging parents become mirrors of everything she fears. Decline, invisibility, irrelevance. So she rewrites the past. The rules you set weren't protection, but control. The sacrifices you made weren't love, but oppression. Gratitude evaporates, and in its place grows resentment. And when she marries, the betrayal doubles. Her husband and his family become her new tribe. The father who once carried her in his arms becomes an afterthought, reduced to a birthday call, maybe a holiday visit. Nietzsche once wrote, "In revenge and in love, woman is more barbarous than man." You see that barbarity when daughters sever ties, not out of necessity, but out of hunger for validation elsewhere. Look around today. Therapists and influencers preach no contact like gospel. Daughters cut off their fathers, not because of abuse, but because he represents obligation. And obligation doesn't sell on Instagram. And the father sits there broken, asking the same question over and over. How can the girl I carried in my arms now treat me like I'm already dead? Daughters cut with emotion, sons cut with silence. Your boy won't scream at you. He won't rage. He won't announce betrayal. He'll simply drift. Outwardly, he plays the role. Yes, Dad. Of course, Mom. He'll show up once in a while. Maybe send money. Maybe call when he feels guilty. Respectful on the surface, but underneath, cold indifference. And here's the dagger. He convinces even himself that he's a good son. I'm just busy with work. I'll come around when things calm down. Excuses dressed as virtue. But what's really happening is simple. Ambition greater than loyalty. His hunger to carve out his own life outweighs the debt he owes you. The will drives him forward, and you become background noise. For a father, this is betrayal in slow motion. Every call gets shorter, every visit rarer. One day you wake up and realize the boy who once clung to your leg now treats you like an afterthought. Schopenhauer said it's inevitable. The will in sons demands independence. Your authority, once admired, becomes competition. You become the man he must surpass, not the man he must serve. And that's the cruelty of masculine betrayal. It doesn't scream. It doesn't slam the door. It doesn't even look you in the eye. It just disappears. Silence is betrayal in another language, and fathers hear it loudest when the house is empty. Once, honoring parents was sacred. A man's greatest pride was raising children who carried his name with loyalty. A mother's honor was her children's devotion. Now, society spits on that code. The modern gospel is poison, cut off, toxic family. Set boundaries. Follow your dreams, not obligations. Every influencer, every therapist soundbite, every Instagram reel chants the same lie. Your parents owe you everything. You owe them nothing. And so every normal parental mistake gets repackaged as trauma. A father's discipline, abuse, a mother's worry, control, decades of sacrifice, oppression, and fathers feel this betrayal the hardest because men suffer silently. We don't beg, we don't plead, we don't cry on talk shows. We sit in silence, a silence society mocks. Picture it. A father alone in the house he built, blinds drawn, surrounded by photos nobody looks at anymore. He went from hero to villain in his children's story without even being consulted. Nietzsche would call this a revaluation of values, where virtue flips upside down. Once, honoring parents was the highest good. Now dishonoring them is framed as healing. Freud would call it projection, children rewriting the past to escape guilt. But labels don't matter when the result is the same. Fathers abandoned, mothers dismissed, families shattered. And here's the sick part. Society applauds it. The daughter who cuts off her parents is brave. The son who rewrites history is finding himself. Meanwhile, the father sits crucified, not by strangers, but by his own blood. When kids finally abandon their parents, they don't tell the truth. They don't say, "I chose myself over you. I cared more about freedom than your sacrifice. I threw you away." No, that truth is too ugly, even for them. So what do? They rewrite history. The daughter erases years of affection with one sweeping line, "You controlled me." The son buries decades of sacrifice under cold words, "You never supported me." Every family photo, every vacation, every hug, suddenly labeled fake. It's not reality they're describing. It's a story, a cover-up, a way to silence the guilt that eats at them. Freud called it a defense mechanism, the ego rewriting the past to escape shame. Schopenhauer would call it illusion, another mask humans wear to avoid suffering. But for fathers, this illusion is hell. Imagine giving your life, working 2 jobs, carrying their weight on your shoulders, only to be recast as the villain in their story. And society takes their side. Always. The child's tears win sympathy. The father's silence wins suspicion. Betrayal isn't enough. They have to bury you under lies too. That's the cruelty of it. You don't just lose your child. You lose the story of your life. Here's the brutal truth. Biology itself sets the stage for your betrayal. In the natural world, offspring aren't meant to cling forever. Once they can walk, they scatter. They find mates, build new lives, and forget the nest. Evolution doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about survival. Back in prehistoric times, parents didn't live long enough to be abandoned. By the time they grew weak, they were already gone. But modern medicine changed that. Parents now live decades past their usefulness. And children? They're not wired for it. They don't know how to carry you through your old age. Schopenhauer would say it's the will at work, that endless striving force, driving sons toward dominance, daughters toward validation, all at your expense. David Buss, the psychologist, confirms the same thing. Loyalty has limits, set by self-interest. Think about it. Your son's energy gets funneled into career, wealth, women. Your daughter's into beauty, romance, social standing. Where does that leave you? Pushed to the margins. And that's why abandonment feels so universal. It's not just cultural decay, it's nature. Evolution whispers, forget the old, chase the new. But here's the philosophical sting. Following nature blindly means cruelty. Children obey the whisper without reflection, and fathers pay the price in silence. You don't have to look far to see the evidence. It's everywhere. The son who disappears into his career, showing up once a year with a fake smile and a gift card, while his father eats dinner alone in silence. The daughter who sides with her husband's family, treating her own father like an afterthought, visiting only when money or favors are involved. The modern child who swallows no-contact culture whole, labeling parents as toxic, not for abuse, but for setting rules, for raising expectations, for daring to grow old. Studies back it up. More than half of elderly parents report strained or broken ties with at least one adult child. That's not dysfunction. That's the new normal. And fathers? We take the hardest hit because men are taught that manhood means sacrifice, work longer hours, carry heavier loads, break your back so your kids can walk taller. You think loyalty is the return on investment. Instead, your repayment is silence. A phone call on Father's Day, maybe a rushed holiday visit, sometimes not even that. Here's the raw truth. Sons betray through absence. Daughters betray through hostility. One kills you with indifference, the other with accusation. Different weapons, same execution. Schopenhauer's words echo like a gravestone. Almost all of our sorrows spring from our relations with other people. And when other people are your own children, that sorrow feels like a noose tightening around your throat. Step into any nursing home and you'll see it. The graveyard of forgotten fathers. Men who once carried families on their shoulders, now staring at blank walls, waiting for visitors who never come. Their bodies ache, but their hearts ache more. Because loneliness kills faster than disease, and betrayal sharpens that loneliness into despair. Schopenhauer said life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. Old age is where both collide. Pain because the children you raised are gone. Boredom because the hours stretch endlessly with no one to share them with. And here's the cruelest part. Loneliness isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Every quiet dinner, every empty chair across the table, every unanswered call, it's the abyss staring back at you. Nietzsche warned, if you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you. For abandoned fathers, the abyss isn't abstract, it's your own living room. You remember the overtime shifts, the bills you paid, the nights you went without so your children could have more. Now you realize it was all transactional in their eyes, useful in childhood, disposable in adulthood. And the abyss whispers its final truth. Your children were never really yours. They were always servants of their own will. So what can a father do? How do you survive when your own blood cuts you out like a tumor? Schopenhauer's answer is merciless. Expect it. Strip away the illusions early. Don't tell yourself fairy tales about loyalty or gratitude. Don't confuse sacrifice with security. Family ties aren't iron chains, they're paper contracts. And when the ink fades, don't act surprised. He warned, if you hang your happiness on others, even your own children, you're begging to be destroyed. Nietzsche offers another path. Turn pain into fire. Betrayal can break you, or it can forge you. The loneliness of abandonment can either bury you alive or sharpen your will like steel. He said it best, what does not kill me makes me stronger. Your child's betrayal doesn't have to kill you, but it will test whether you have the strength to rise without their approval. Machiavelli would tell you this, don't gamble everything on your kids' loyalty. Protect yourself, guard your assets, build independence. Love your children, but don't hand them your entire legacy with blind faith. The fox survives by cunning, the lion by strength, and a father must be both. And Freud? He'd remind you that children abandon not out of truth, but out of guilt. They rewrite history because they can't face the ugliness of their betrayal. Knowing this doesn't heal the wound, but it explains it. And sometimes explanation is the only comfort philosophy gives. Here's the bottom line. Stop expecting your children to save you. Save yourself. So why do most kids abandon their parents? Because the same nature that once bound them to you now drives them away. The will demands new desires. Biology demands independence. Society whispers rebellion. And ego demands rewriting history. None of that softens the blow. None of that makes the silence easier when your daughter cuts you off or your son stops calling. Because betrayal always lands the same way. The boy who once reached for your hand now leaves you in the dark. The girl who once kissed your cheek now treats you like a ghost. And you're left asking how love turned into indifference. Schopenhauer warned that sorrows spring from our relations with other people. And for fathers, no sorrow is sharper than your own blood turning its back on you. So what should you do? Accept the truth early. Love your children, but don't make them your only reason to live. Build strength within yourself that no betrayal can shatter. Provide, protect, guide, but never confuse sacrifice with insurance of loyalty. Because here's the hardest lesson. The child you raised with love may one day bear you with indifference. And yet, there is dignity in facing this abyss without illusions. Power in knowing the truth before it crushes you. A man who accepts life's cruelty, as Schopenhauer did, cannot be destroyed by it.